So, welcome back to the second segment of this workshop. So, in this session, we will learn about the digital technology trends and standardization roadmaps at TSDSI, TEC, and BIS. I would like to invite Mr. R. Prakash, Mr. Nirant Amok, Mr. Murli Krishna to the dais.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this standards workshop. So, I'm not talking only about TSDSI. One of the stuff I think the charter of this workshop, I thought I will try to address as a part of while talking about TSDSI. So we have about 12, 13 minutes, I think. So what I'll do, I'll just brush across, yesterday we had, there was a workshop here, and Dr. Kanti suddenly pulled me into a panel question, asking, what is it that we have to do, and so on. So that got me thinking in terms of, does standards get built in isolation? Okay, so then I pulled a set of slides which talks about it, and then I'll talk about what TSDSI is doing. Okay. So just before we go, what you have to see is standards don't get built in thin air. Okay, so they are usually built in an area or built in a domain or a problem space, and it requires a set of things to happen. So just run through. So current concern, we are already using 4G. We have started using 5G. Some of them, the 5G standards are in place, and 6G is the one that getting discussed about. So I thought I'll also talk about this. So just a survey of what people are doing across the world. Can we move to the next slide? So just a representation that it is not in one place or one spot compared to a lot of other technologies. 6G activity is happening across in a lot of forums. There's activity happening in Europe, United States, Germany, China, Korea, Finland. Okay. Now each of them are actually large efforts compared to the earlier years, and it involves multiple types of projects. There's innovation councils, there are industry forums, there's government funded schemes, and in all of them, compared to the last time, the governments are showing a lot of interest to ensure that their country or their region takes leadership in the domain. Okay, so there is, the example is there are industry alliances and HexaX project. Then there's a 6G Innovation Council. So there's a innovation council in a university. There is industry associations which get together. There's also government funded support for the industry association. Okay. Similarly, in Korea, the ministry leads the initiative. Okay, yeah, even in China and so on. Okay, I'm not. By the way, there's Japan and there's India also. I'll come to that. Okay, can we move to the next slide? So, what is the timeline? When do we? How much time do we have to do this? So, is there a pointer? Okay. So what is the timeline that we have to do the 6G standards? So the work was already started somewhere in 2021 and so on. They started working on the technology trends, and we're trying to draft out a vision and certain amount of studies on the spectrum. But now the activities have started on the IT, the evaluation criteria, the technical performances, and so on. So over a period of the next few years, till the standard published in 2030, already the proposals have to start coming in around 2027. Okay, so there is a window of 3 years where you can start putting it, because beyond that you're already into the evaluation and consensus building and so on. So the window for developing standards and pushing technology is in these 3 years, 2024 to 2027. And by that time, the last phase is more putting things together and evaluating. Okay. And sometimes we also wonder what is 3GPP, what is ITU, and the R&D that we do, how do they map? So ITU gives the specific framework, vision, and the technology performance. 3GPP, it's not only 3GPP. By the way, it almost looks like a blood donation, but you can have other entities going and pitching. This is just, they say this is my formal process of selecting the candidate. Their family member 3GPP there who will go and submit a candidate. But the technology development and candidate happens in the bodies outside. ITU gives a question paper, they give a vision, the performance KPI, and they get an evaluation done through independent bodies and give approval that it is IMT 2030. So last time when 5G was done, along with 3GPP, TSDSI also submitted a candidate. There were a set of other DECT and a couple of other candidates who had come in and submitted. Okay. Now, if you see, we also have to map what we do to the 3GPP releases. Okay, so release 15 is 16 is what we consider as 5G. Beyond this, we start evolving and then we move to 5G advanced. Okay, and then we move to 6G. So somewhere here is where the 6G basic standard starts. 5G advanced might continue for some time over the releases. So 3GPP release 15 is operational in a lot of places. Anybody who's starting brand new might look at 16. Not all features are implemented. Okay. So again, if you see some one of the thing AIML gets talked about, so just a slide saying what is AIML and how does AIML get into 3GP, 3GPP and AIML and releases. Okay, so it's essentially in air interface, next generation RAN and network operations. In all three areas, they're trying to squeeze in the innovations. So these are the spaces where the R&D that happens inside the organizations. If you wanted to align, these are the places that you need to get in. A couple of I'll not spend much time. Most of probably it's already done in the other things. Okay, so a set of aspects. Release 18. There are key features that are strengthening the 5G and trying to add use cases. Okay, AR, VR, whatever. But along with that, they're also trying to do increase positioning and for the enterprise. They are also trying to bring in AIML aspects into the from release 18 that is coming in. Okay, I'll not spend too much time. So just to say, every release when you go, things get added. So if you need to get something added in your organization into the stream, you need to see if it is already a work item in these aspects. Release 17 is already done. So I'm just telling you need to make sure it's in these lists and then align your, or get your R&D aligned to this or build something, make sure your R&D is in this list. Otherwise, you will get out of the standard stream, and then it's very difficult for your technology to proliferate in the industry. Going forward, this is the 18 and 19 and so on. So I'll not go into the details. These are just references. These are available online, all this material. The point I am trying to highlight is standards, it doesn't stand in isolation. You need to do something outside and then ensure that it comes and maps into this. Okay. Again, another representation, but the thing is 18, 19, 20 is a set of 5G advanced, and beyond that you start doing 6G. Okay. Release 19 aspect again. So I'll skip this. These are not the main points I wanted to. These are just to say the background in which Indian R&D or things can come in. Okay. But before that, 2-3 minutes I'll spend on. If you see 5G, this is something I quite liked. Okay. Your industry or the R&D landscape, you're part of an ecosystem. So how do I go back? Okay. So there is some core research that were done on system, air interface, and so on. They did trials and they built platforms around which the core innovation were loaded to the platform. Okay, so you convert the research, the maths, the science, this one into a platform and use trials as a mechanism to prove your concept. Okay, and this was done, and there were a lot of contributions, scientific publications, and so on. This is the framework on which the 5G research was done. Along with that, they started a 6G network aspects, which they will work on in this the European aspect where they will push the 5G to the limits around 2025, and then that will load, give a need for 6G. As of today, it is like if you just build a technology, why should anybody put money on it? So the aspect is that you generate use cases, trials, and use scenarios, and load on the 5G system so that it cannot handle. And around 2025 plus, it should start stalling or coughing, and then people should say, okay, give something new, and that is where the 6G will come as the savior. Okay, that is the interpretation. But then similarly, they have got their roadmap. Now that they are saying this is what will happen, what is it that we will do in their stream? Okay, so there is the funding in their countries and the uh, various projects. Okay, the 6G IA, SNS, JU, and so on. Similar thing is there in US. It's called the Next G Alliance. This is not as ambitious. It is more a industry collaboration to keep an eye, and they are expecting companies to do whatever is one to be done. The Japan has a lot more saying, okay, these are what will be the technology. This is what will be put together. How 5G will move, ultra low latency, low power, resiliency, security, and so on. And they also have a promotion strategy. What is it that I will do? Okay, what is the mission? What is the principle? So how I'll do some, I will standardize it, and then I'll deploy it. Okay, and the R&D being the core of their roadmap. Somewhere all these things suddenly have 6G without having R&D inside, and then you digitize, you centralize, you do pilots, you do trials, whatever, and there's appropriate funding for that. Okay. Similar thing is there with Korea, Ministry of Science and ICT. They have 190 million, but everybody expects government will bring in X, industry will bring 5X. So usually a billion, 2 billion, 5 billion plus is coming in into the industry. So given this, what is it that India can do? So if you see, as we move forward, we have like things that are not there in 5G, privacy, transparency, use cases, regulations, stakeholder trust, and so on need to get into 5G. Energy aspect, cost aspect, development goals, waste environment, or whatever things that maybe these guys in the earlier generations did not bother, but now is as you increase the number of things important. You also look at things like terahertz or positioning and SDR, quantum, the critical technology keywords. Along with that, city network, satellite network, aerial network, or the network configurations, technology improvements in this, and the abstract things that were not really put together. Okay. Another thing what we have to understand is R&D happens somewhere here, but standard get developed somewhere else. The SDO is somewhere here. There's regulatory, national administration, industry forums. So the interplay between all these has to also strengthen if you need to get standards into picture. So some aspect, government will fund some center of excellences. They will help work with the industry. Industry also builds their own center of excellences who develop technologies which get built into use case labs, test beds, applications, trials, and so on, which also gets market deployments in smart cities, government rural programs, or whatever. So somebody has to get started first. Okay, you can't say straight away for I'll build a technology get profitable. This is more like just like we have technology mentorship. The government schemes have the mentorship for this one. So SD or TSDSI somewhere here is the whole landscape. The point I'm trying to highlight here is you can't have TSDSI alone and standards will get developed. A lot of other activities has to happen for the standards to get generated. Okay. One example I'm taking as a 5G testbed where multiple institutes got together, startups, R&D institutes, government all got together. They helped a lot of these guys use this, and they were trying to deploy it in a lot of these places. The success might be plus or minus there, but it was a good start for things to do. So the other aspect is we need India technology stacks. Otherwise, there is no need for standard. Unless somebody builds a technology stack, it could be small one, it could be large, it could be the whole smart city wide program, or 6G complete, or it could be just a small positioning standard. Okay, whatever it is, API. One of the things that could be explored is government funds it, put together, and creates these stacks, which is then promoted and the ecosystem goes around open systems, Linux and data and so on. Okay, so This is just a model that I am personally recommending. It does not my company's. So, I mean, my company also has a lot of these things. This is my personal view of how things should proliferate. That is, I think it might help. Okay, that is, industry alone might not be able to. So one of the point I am trying to highlight multiple places is standards don't come, you can't say standard. Like yesterday I was giving analogy. In the village, you can't have just the temple. You need all other things. You need a market, you need a farm, you need a the layout, housing, everything, and then you need a temple like that. Standards are double, triple derivative product or a aspect of an ecosystem. That is, you need all the other things happening so that the standards come in. So we need to get the interested parties, engage them, and put all these things together. Okay. We need the engagement right now is happening, but we need much more level of sophistication. The participation has to go to from 100 to thousands. More people have to build technology. More people have to do, trials. More people have to try to collaborate. Things have to break. Then they will feel a need for standard. Okay. So also bring in people. I think a lot of these are happening. Participation in standards, going outside, visiting, and bringing more standards bodies to India, and so. But the way I am looking at is what happened in IT services in 2020, what happened in design engineering services. Over a period of time, I think standards-driven R&D will shift towards India. Okay, so it's a matter of time. Okay, the venture capitalists will come in and they will not just expect a technology or an engineering solution. They'll expect that when you do R&D, you will bring patents. Earlier it was only patents. Now you'll say, okay, along with that, you'll bring CPs and you will do standards driven R&D. Okay. So I was saying, just like you have infra as a service, India can become a standards as a service house. Okay. So given coming to TSDSI, I mean, I was trying to give an update. Now that, like I was saying, this is the output of all the things that happened. We have a lot of academia, we have startups, we have larger companies, we have TSPs, we have Geo, we have Airtel, all these things coming in, and we have work going on in how to a mobile. We have Chinese mobiles coming in which might not be uh, meeting the specs. So what to ensure the safety of uh, health and safety. We have work going on cutting edge like solar panel based optical wireless, which is an innovative thought. We have activity happening in 5G and visual light communications, E-band characteristics, new waveforms. Okay, so these are really cutting edge R&D, which people are coming, publishing reports, and then trying to see if it can be taken and made it into specifications. Okay, and we also have joint sensing and communication and sensing, channel modeling, sub-terahertz. Okay, so the aspects that are in the work that is happening inside TSDSI is quite close to what are the work happening in IMT 2030 and in 3GPP. Except the difference is the quantum is much smaller. Okay, and that is where my earlier slide saying that is something, there has to be growth in all areas. It's like your muscle has to grow for your the health to improve. Okay, all the muscles, all the aspects. So things like coreless RAN, AI architecture, broadcast offload. Okay, these are some active work items that is currently happening. We recently released two specifications. Okay, one on broadcast offload aspects and one on RIS. So these are the various reports released in the past few quarters. Okay, just as a highlight, it might be very small font. I don't know how much I was able to see. Maybe I should have looked it up. But 4G, 5G, IAB, a VLC, and fronthaul split, and so on. Okay. So this is just an indicative representation of what is happening, but the uh, the dialogue and discussions are quite close to, like, there is a meeting in IM 2030 and this is what is happening, and there is this KPI discussion that's happening, and there is work that comes into the study TSDSI, which then gets uh, taken to the ITU or 3GPP. So using this platform, I would also encourage all of you to participate in TSDSI. It is an Indian SDO, and it's going to 3GPP directly, as instead of going to a company. If you go through TSDSI, you can get a lot more support, and over a period of time, the idea is to make Indian TSDSI as the regional SDO. Okay, we also bring in a lot of other countries and other areas to come and work with TSDSI. And TSDSI starts fronting, because what happened in 5G was that there was a lot of technology push, but then it did not yield any value to either the operator or to the customer, which is why there is not much difference in revenue to the operators. Okay, and now when people are approaching operators saying, I want to work on 6G, the feedback that is coming is, look, show me the money. Okay, how will I get money? So the input is that I think we should also get into solving real life problems, either of the operators or the society or the organizations or businesses. Okay, and then publish it as the standard. Even the DOT is now keen that you build something that works for India, then take it to standard. Don't go chasing just because somebody is doing it, don't go chasing that. And at the end of all that, if nobody is buying it, what is the point of the technology? If you find something, work with people who have problems, build something, standardize it, publish patents, use patents, and then take it worldwide. Go publish it as an international standard. Okay. So that is an opportunity that TSDSI provides. I request all of you to participate and actively engage and use the benefits of TSDSI. Thank you.
Mr. Nirant Amogh, Vice Chair of Services and Solutions Study Group, to give an overview of the technical activities and roadmap as seen from the point of view from this group at TSDSI.
The organizers, TSDSI and Samsung, for hosting this workshop and also inviting me here. Um, so my topic would be digital technology trends and roadmap for services and solutions. I would probably start with the last few paragraphs that um, or statements that Prakash made in terms of monetization. I think that's where we marry services with networks more and more. So, I mean, we're looking more into future things. So, just a quick mic check here. So, you can all hear me, right? 1, 2, Muru, Naku, Panche. Okay, I think network is doing some AI. So, just ask network. Network, stop AI. So, this is. I mean, that was a joke. So I know many people probably, we are still not in 6G, but what I'm trying to say is the services would be so adaptive with AI in every aspect that we interact with. And the services like these, where whether we are broadcasting or we're having conversations on a one-to-one basis, so it would be very personalized. So possibly the one thing that I wanted to say is when we started with 1, 2, it started in English. Then it found, okay, we are in Bangalore, let me put it in Kannada. So they said Muru Naku. Then it found that a lot of people from here are from Delhi and have native languages Hindi, so it says Panche. And it also introduces confusion. So you have to probably have mechanism to stop this, to stop confusing the audience and the consumer of the service. Given that, probably the content that I would like to convey in the next 15 minutes is how to build vision for services and solutions and how it's been traditionally been built. Then I'll try to also touch upon some view on services ecosystem, not only global but also local, and some key trends and value enablers shaping the ecosystem, and finally how TSDSI is organized to uh, deliver the roadmap for future networks. So in the first aspects, I think we all know this evolution of networks. So from 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and now we are discussing about 6G. So I think if you look at the philosophy behind, I think more and more, I think it was about uh, seamlessly integrating human, physical, and digital worlds, right? So when we come to services, of course, we only spoke about, of course, network is network, but then services is what monetizes the network. So there were call, SMS, and data. that was predominantly successful. And when it came to 4G, we had the basic services, broadband, IoT, and V2X, and IoT and V2X were started uh, to be introduced. But the vision, I mean, which is mostly centered around information and societal interactions for the citizens. But when it came to 5G, I think the vision had a drastic change. So, which of course, apart from the basic services with enhanced broadband, there's massive number of IoT and machine interactions that were envisioned, and also opening up to verticals. So V2X, Industry 4.0, drones, all being connected, and more integrations with human and physical and digital world were envisioned. So, I mean, we know the situation today. We have 5G deployed in India. I think one of the most important challenges, even though all these services are envisioned, I think the question always comes as to where is the monetization? Are services uh, enabled? So, do we have V2X in India? Do we have Industry 4.0 enabled verticals in India? Do we see, are we started seeing drones on 5G networks, right? So we do see a lot of use cases, but I think sometimes what happens is, I think whenever we've seen the uptake in the generation of technology adoption, so mostly while we are at the doorstep of the next generation, we start to look into a lot of adoption of the previous generation. So, like when we started having 5G, so we knew that, as Prakash mentioned, when you reach the limit, when you start pushing the requirement and deployments towards the next generation. So here, I think the monetization will play a key role in terms of how we envision 6G, and if we start looking at what 2G 2G to 5G provided in terms of human interaction with the, let's say, so-called digital world and the physical world. uh, I think 6G is providing a more grander vision, and driving views in terms of how this interaction can be enabled, which is, I think, also in 5G Advanced we are seeing with immersive. So more thrust will be on services and solutions going forward. I think networks are becoming almost invisible in that sense, saying that the evolution of networks are taken for granted. But then what we'll see is more thrust on services and solutions. So now, whenever we look into a vision of a next generation work, or let's say evolution of any technology, so we'll, at least for 6G, as industry would view it, I'd like to kind of put it into two buckets. One is the digital physical fusion and the human augmentation. So the next, and all in terms of how humans would like to interact with the world, right? So first aspect is the digital physical fusion. So this should allow us to, I mean, we all heard the term digital twin now. It is not new. So would like to have physical world be somehow replicated, simulated, and automated in the digital world, so that it eases the interaction and opens the doors to several innovations and efficient benefits one could see. So be it, let's say, I think case that we all demonstrate is the building of a bridge. So one could design a bridge using 3D models, and then use the same models to the physical implementation of it, and also deploy enough sensors and actuators within the bridge, which would real time feed information. And once the bridge is implemented, so the 3D model that was there in the design gets into a real model where it is feeding real time information, is receiving real time information. Then if you want to do any maintenance and any automation related to those infrastructure, you could just use the 3D model to do that. So that now it is enhancing safety of the personnel, and so many societal benefits one could see with the way a human would interact with the physical world. So that is, let's say, the enterprise case, or let's say a public infrastructure case. And one would also, if you've seen the other side of it, is human augmentation. So yeah, with 6G, I think everybody are getting up to be ready to wear glasses. So each one of us would have glasses, and that would be our first view to the world of a digital world or an augmented reality. And in here, the innovations would be, of course, on the VR headsets, AR glasses, and how two-dimensional information that we see today on our screens. So when we go today to a shopping mall, we always see the physical objects, and then we go to our digital device, which is of course a different device, and then we start looking at and comparing and analyzing things. But we are envisioning that it should be more immersive. So there comes the confluence into your vision. So vision technologies which will help you to, which will be integrated in such a way to the network that it will help you to do this analysis based on managing your profile, and also enabling, let's say an example would be, you pick up a cereal box from a shelf, and it will tell you whether you're allergic to it or not, right? And all without you opening up Google and then maybe doing a search that of a particular product, and then also saying that, okay, listing by yourself whether this is whether you're allergic to it. So you would offload those type of almost intuitive abilities to the network. You able to interact with the network in a very intuitive way. So we are seeing at least digital visual fusion and the human augmentation, which will pave way for the next generation of, I mean, this is the trending for the next future networks. So the other extreme example when we also look at is the use of exoskeletons and even brain machine interfaces. So they are also going to play a very, very important role when we look into immersive experience and human augmentation. So given, let's say there could be so many use cases, but what I like to bucket is in terms of use case families. So when we look into services and solutions, so right from, we try to organize it into 6 buckets. So one is global connectivity. Of course, the connectivity would be terrestrial, not terrestrial. But then in terms of global connectivity, some basic services would be always available, and that they will be connectivity enhanced, and there will be, of course, new growth opportunities. So what you see in blue is some of them that are already being delivered via the existing networks like 5G. And moving forward, what you see in the green parts are the aspects that would create new growth opportunities for 6G. So we see, let's say IoT, LWTP, IoT, one of the areas which would create new growth opportunities for next generation of networks. And of course, there would be the support for all the EMBB services going forward also in 6G. But I think the critical role that will be played in terms of services would be the services which are having the dependable real-time communications. So all the type of use cases that we are looking at in terms of that would be enabled, which would create a huge amount of burden, or let's say pressure on the network, would also demand us to work on aspects like compute offload, advanced healthcare use cases, then holographic communication, and of course we're looking at factory automation in terms of Industry 5.0, and network as a sensor. So for, at least especially for India, where we don't have too many devices, IoT devices put in the market. So what we're looking at is we are a wireless first nation, especially cellular wireless first nation. So if we could expect that network could detect objects, not only in terms of localizations, but also more granularly, even the type of object or a gesture of that particular object. Let's say for elderly healthcare, if you could have a base station put in an auditorium in here, and there are elderly people who are in here, and there is somebody is falling off from a particular stair, so it will be immediately able to alert. Network itself will be immediately able to alert the suitable application, which will give assistance to such persons. So we are trying to look into those type of use cases, and that's what advanced healthcare or advanced let's say personal assistance would be. So those would require dependable real-time communications, and that is where we see that 6G might first address those, including network sensing use cases. Then we also see proximity connectivity and new range of use cases related to short range ultra reliable communication. So a short range ultra reliable communication means is we are looking at networks as a network of sub networks. So a person is a sub network, could be a sub network. Vehicle today you could see a sub network. Portion of a machine is a sub network. And today I think everybody carries a smartphone. Let's say for a personal person, so this smart network would be your smartphone would act like a gateway, but then this gateway is also supporting a subnetwork. So we would still see that a lot of things that we carry on our body. Let's say it could be health, elderly healthcare. It could be a pacemaker, or it could be not just watches but implants. It could be even exoskeleton and so on. So they all be wirelessly connected. And these subnetwork connectivity wireless innovations would be almost giving the quality of a wire. So let's take a car. So in your car, you have some reconfigurable and mobile elements. So in that particular sense, in your car's internal network would be a subnetwork which would have a better capable network than macro network. So macro network may be catering to some 5 nines or 6 nines, but your subnetwork may need some 8 or 9 nines type of a connectivity. So we see that short URC might be the range of use cases that come up there might be a driver for 6G and future networks as well. So this is a broad classification of use case families and services that one could envision for future networks. And coming to once we see all these type of use cases, so we see okay, I mean these are good to know, but is there real uptake of services? So who is it only on paper? Is it only in the talks in these workshops and conferences? How does this come to reality? So maybe I'll take you to one case. So let's say for V2X, right? So there is this organization called as 5GAA, which kind of builds in based connectivity solutions and then comes up with the application layer services, and they design the roadmap for deploying the, let's say, the V2X solution. So there is another organization apart from the standard organizations which deal with all these things, and they are both the pre-standards organizations as well as the post-standard organizations. So in terms of V2X, what 5GA did was it enabled United actually several members from the ecosystem, around 50 plus members, who worked on these technologies, standards, spectrum, policy, regulations, business models, and go-to-market strategy. So at least for the services, this is very, very important because I think network innovation, I know it comes from the maybe the research table, and it comes to the technology innovation. You could have some candidate use cases, but once you start looking into really monetization, there is a big role played by the services ecosystem players like 5G and so on. So at least for 5G, we've seen that for V2, 5G has played a very critical role. Like automotive OEMs deployed 5G V2X connectivity in production models. We also see that in India now. So many of the base, I mean, new cars that are coming up, they have 5G connectivity inbuilt in them, and also with some sort of a V2X stack, which enables, let's say, the day one services. So a major success has been in Europe and China, where 5G has been able to chart out a good roadmap for day one CV2X services. So this organization would also, of course, start working on future evolution of V2X applications domain going forward, and influence maybe 3GPP and other bodies, which improves the uptake of even going to autonomous cars, right? Autonomous car applications are even more stringent, and they would need a dependable real-time communication. So such to, let's say, level type of automation, we would see that a lot of pre-research work or the pre-standardization work would come from the organization, go into 3GPP, get endorsed there, and then technology which will be developed by 3GPP will support a lot of these use cases. Similarly, I'm not going to go through each one of them, but the different key service ecosystem now. Of course, 5G ACIA, 5G MAG, 5G ACIA. What you saw for 5G AA was for V2X, and 5G ACIA is for industry automation, and 5G MAG is for media applications. So for all newer applications, there's a new forum called the Metaverse Standards Forum, and these are global initiatives. But then when we look into India, I think India uh, also has driven many initiatives now. So DOT has set up 5G use labs, hundreds of them, creating enabling enabling academia and the industry to come together to create applications. There are initiatives on digital twin like Sangam, which are making shape, and also TSDSI is playing a major role in here. So in terms of all these ecosystem initiatives, what comes out prominently is that they play in terms of its efforts. So one is defining the use cases, applications, and services specifically focused on market demand and opportunities. Then bringing this market advice to 3GPP, and then of course creating a faster innovation cycle. So all these organizations we are seeing, at least on the left hand side, they have a very component model that they have developed globally. On the right hand side, which is India specific, I think we will start to do that from we have to do that from 5G. We will gain more traction during 6G timeframes. Now I come to the next quick few slides on the key trends that are shaping the next generation of work. So the first trend that we observe is, of course, the 5G adoption is continuing. It has been with the fastest deployed network in the world. So it has overtaken even 4G in terms of the time to deploy. So there are worldwide deployments, 249 5G deployments worldwide, or 96 countries, and 41 5G standalone deployments, and 115 operators have invested in 5G standalone. So we are seeing that at least in terms of network being deployed, it is scaled up very well. But then the monetization has been a question. But when you start putting the network, so the imperative for monetization will grow. So in this particular sense, what we see today is, of course, one would always today, at least in India, we always see that okay, we have 4G, 5G, we hardly make out any difference, right? So the existing thing is, of course, subscription conversions are happening. Unlimited 5G data packs have been provided. Then some speed data packages are also being provided. And but of course, people who are interested in these type of let's say 5G as a buzzword, I think they are looking at 5G as a buzzword to convert to these existing packages. But new use cases, I think, that are coming up in terms of monetization opportunities and fixed wireless access, where 5G is looked upon as a network platform where operators are working very closely with content providers and creating newer applications which are delivered to home and enterprises. And of course, with 5G, we have also seen network slice and private networks. Uptake has been slow, but I think with applications like digital twin based 5G, so these are new opportunities that operators are currently exploring. So going forward, what we see is some of the emerging cases which augment, let's say, the customer service as well as the enterprise services. We are seeing service bundling, especially considering fixed wireless access. The next level of upgrade to that would be 5G augmented experiences bundling with AR/VR headsets. So one could navigate digital world, virtual worlds, virtual tourism, anything you can think of. So that platform is going to. We feel that the services that sector, and then there would be more physical interaction. So I think in India, we are very well experienced with IPL. So how to improve the event-based XR experience. So lot of use cases are going to be thought of in terms of how to improve the experience at certain events, whether it would be musical shows or IPL stadium, football stadiums. So how to improve the experience, event experience based on XR. And the last one that we are also seeing in terms of emerging trend is that uh, today network was only used as a pipe, right? And applications did not even bother. I mean, network was invisible to these applications. So one would say that okay, they wrote a mobile application and it would run and it would leverage if 4G had a certain KPIs or bandwidth and speed that has been provided, so that were reflecting on the application. 5G also has been thought of in the similar way, but it has started to open up into new APIs. But in 6G, I think it will be very native because one would be able to program the network to suit the experience that the application needs. So that is becoming very, very important area, and services would be able to utilize and program the networks as adapt to the network situations dynamically. So that trend is one of the things that we are prominently seeing going forward, which will be very natively offered from next generation networks. One which is all about some services, but trend two is also need to be complemented. Services have to be complemented with an expanding device ecosystem. We have, of course, we know variables and CPEs, modules, all these type of handsets that are pure of handsets that are there in the market. But going forward in for future network, we would see that zero energy devices, then 5G IoT, extended glasses, wearables, exoskeletons. So people safe or even healthcare. So a lot of device innovation happen, and possibly these are right now probably happening more at international levels. But I think we need to care more in India because a lot of these use cases, not only in terms of immersive use cases, but healthcare use cases, safety use cases, they're very important in terms of for industries as well. So device ecosystem and its innovations would also be very important from an India perspective. So, and we will see that many of these would start flooding the markets while we are seeing the fag end of 5G advanced, but then um, uh, the the uptake in of many of these applications would start seeing in the early phase of 6G. The next one is we had services, devices. Now, of course, new technologies are playing a case there, like artificial intelligence. So, at services as well, not only networks but services as well, you will see artificial intelligence playing a big role. So, at least from a lot of research that we have seen, public research that we are seeing that around $450 billion value is estimated for artificial intelligence contribution to the market. Cloud, Industry 5.0, and sustainability technologies would also play an equally important role. And these are public numbers, so I'll not go much into it, but the key message here is this: they will start adopted. So right now, I think, of course, in terms of India, we have taken, let's say, we were always the second adopters, but for 6G, we'll be the first adopters. Is vision. So in that particular sense, I think all the adoption of these technologies will happen almost in day one. So in that sense, the service ecosystem also takes shape considering these technology adoptions. Yeah, and these, of course, are the value drivers. So design, security, and digital inclusion. I think Prakash already spoke well on them, so I'll just keep these. In terms of, so given this vision and view of trends and other aspects, right? So what is that is happening in TSDSI? So TSDSI has got a study group called as Services and Solutions, and it is organized into 3 working groups. The first one is security, second one is application, third one is services framework and architecture. And as you can see from this particular slide, so in terms of security, we are already working on security enablers for 6G. AI ML is one of the key topics in terms of security. Then user subscriptions, so enhanced security for user subscription. Then we're also thinking about, of course, the density of base stations are going to go emerge because of the spectrum that is going to be used, at least in the urban cases. So there could be a lot of false base station issues. So, and the attack mitigation schemes are being discussed in TSDSI. User plane security, especially at multiple level, application layer as well as network layer is also being discussed. And because of the expanding device system trend we see, we are also starting to discuss equipment identity, register centrally managed so that one would know that this is an authenticated device that is on the network. So security is, as you can see, there are a lot of aspects which might relate to 5G advanced, 6G, and also something very which continue across in several generations. In terms of applications, metaverse use cases and requirements, which are Indian use cases of metaverse, have been are in discussions. This report is almost getting close, but I would urge all of you to have a look at this draft report that is available from TSDSI. And we are also looking into ITS, agriculture, telerobotics, sensing, and I mean, these are, as you can see, very, let's say, futuristic use cases, but we also focus on language related services where we are focusing on developing a local database of language or central database of language, which is financial workflows in different states. So there are more than 100 languages, and there is an effort made to create language repositories so that it can assist the citizens in different states in their own language. And this would be up and adapted by the handsets dynamically based on the language preference of the user. Now, to support the applications and security aspects, there is already discussions on newer aspects. Like you already know that edge computing is something very important in terms of delivering a lot of these latency sensitive services. So common edge connectivity for public utility services has been discussed. So how ambulances and any other public utility services could utilize or benefit from a common edge, and tactile applications. So this is more related to the metaverse. Then we're also discussing some solutions of like smart agriculture leveraging 1M to M. then an architecture for, let's say, like an app store for rural broadband services is being discussed in TSDSI. And then we are also discussing in terms of cloud interoperability and portability, the architecture and protocols. So these are the existing activities at SGSS, and every meeting we are seeing at least 8 to 10 new proposals come in. So in terms of new areas, and we have this notion in TSDSI called as new item proposals, which is NIPS, and there are something called as SWICs, which is study and work item contributions. So all of these activities receiving, or study items and work items are receiving SWICs, which is making progress in terms of technical reports and specifications. But we are also receiving many NIPS, given the thrust that is emphasized, and also many organizations are already reviewing their technical roadmap going forward on how they want to contribute towards 6G. So this is let's say, the ripe time for one to engage in activities related to 6G. And in terms of roadmap, so many of the things TSDSI also organized roadmap workshops. So there are many use cases that came up in discussion. So railways is one of the aspects. So they want to study requirements on FRMCS, and how 5G Advance and 6G could evolve based on railways use cases. Then aspects related to usage of satellite imagery for agriculture using 5G network, and then some reference architecture for solar powered UAVs. Then in terms of security, AIML, ITS, quantum. So these are all new areas for which currently the view is very abstract, but one could participate, because TSDSI organizes roadmap committee meetings and roadmap committee introductions within the study groups. So one could organize discussions in these participate in these discussions, where they're trying to create new item proposals, so that it could be either introduced into TSDSI or in HPP. So I mean, as you can see, some are very futuristic. I think how to create cost-effective solutions for quantum security, then quantum communication security and modeling, even though it may not have a place in current 6G, or maybe fag end of 6G, but it has already been a consideration from research and industry community in TSDSI. So this was let's say, a quick snapshot. I know this talk I've taken more time than required, but this talk could have been even more elaborate if I had gone and touched into each one of these bullets. But this is a quick snapshot of services vision and how TSDSI is catering to it. So thank you for your patient listening, and please join us at SGS.
Thank you, sir. I would like to now invite Mr. Murali Krishna, TDG Southern Region from Telecom Engineering Center, to give an overview of the technical activities at TEC.
Before I go into the slides, I want to give a little background about why TEC and what we are doing. So, in fact, I joined TEC about a year and a half. Before that, I was to different arms of DOT and BSNL, etc. Then, the last year, sometime last year, the one vendor suddenly told somebody that you have to go to TEC and get the certificate, GR certificate or year, whatever it is, because he wanted to, product is ready, wanted to deploy into the network, whomsoever is servicing, and he went and approached them. They said they want certificate. Then till then he was not aware that where to get, what to do, what is TEC, what is the certification process, etc. So then it took them nearly 4 to 6 months to get this certification done. So therefore, we thought this right forum for the particularly startups and new vendor who are coming into this telecom domain and IT product development, who should be aware of the role and the activities of TEC. So therefore, I thought of giving a little bit familiarization about TEC in this available time. So what is TEC? TEC is a telecom engineering center headquartered in Delhi with 4 regional offices in north, east, west, south, and I'm presently in southern region, taking care of all 5, 6 states, including small states. TEC is a standard setting organization for telecom and ICT sector. It's a de facto sector for sector-specific national standardization bodies. The TSDSI is developing the standards. So while they submit the report to TEC do the study, and there is a process of adoption. And once after everything is that process is followed, then it will be released or as a national standard. Then TEC is having a responsibility to implement the MTCTE scheme, mandatory testing certificate for telecom equipment. This is recently about 3 years back, this was released, and we are taking care of that part. And TEC also has a role in giving the voluntary certification process. Under that, there are many certifications in the future. And TEC is designated National Inquiry Point WTO TBT for telecom sector. And it also handles the complaint resolution mechanism under PPP and Make in India program. And it's an ISO 9001-2015 certified organization. Formulation of standards for telecom broadcasting related to ICT sector. Broadcasting, because TRI has asked us to do it. Otherwise, initially it was not there. So then ratification, adoption of international standards as a national standards. Formulation of technical regulations, essential requirement. Essential requirements are the basis on which MTCT certificate is issued, tested and certificate is issued. The contributions in standardization process of international organizations like ITU, APT, IEEE, etc. It's also nodal organization for ITU. Lead national working groups corresponding to ITU study groups. There in ITU we call it a standard study groups, and here national working groups corresponding numbers happening in TEC. TRI designated agency for testing and certification for conditional access system and subscriber management system for broadcasting sector. I'll just run through the major functions and some reforms undertaken, some achievements and ongoing activities, events, etc. That's how I try to familiarize the TEC. The formulation of standard for GR, IR, generic requirements, interface requirements, and service requirements. These days, service requirements are not being used much, but yeah. And instead of that, ER is recently it came into picture, essential requirements. Designation of conformity assessment body, meaning that once the product is ready, TEC is a node agency, but then we don't have our own in-house labs to take care of entire industry requirement. Therefore, we need to identify labs and recognize if they are capable of doing the testing as per spec. So that's the confirmation assessment body, and that activity is also being done. Contribution in standardization process of international organization, that is ITUT, ITUR, study groups, PT, WRC, etc. PLI, TTDF, productivity linked incentives, and TTDF fund, as yesterday and today also it's been discussed. That fund this evaluation, this for that when you select the vendors and there's an evaluation process, is part of that. Local companies handling under PPP MMI model. WTO TTP inquiry point for telecom, which is I think reputation. Technical inputs to DOT and non-DOT and even customs, TRI and DCPW, etc. As and when the requirement from different ministries, we are rendering the technical advice. If you look at the standards and it was new as well as the revised one issued since 2014. Essential requirements are about 60 and GR, IR, SR is 239. TEC also published about 22 and reports and study papers about 98. Of course, we have quarterly news report which is available on the website also. Just then that under the present government ease of doing business, every ministry has undertaken some reform process. So TEC also, so DOT as a whole, many reforms have happened, but within the TEC, some of these steps have been taken to make things easy for the vendors to get registration process. So enhancement of validity period for MTCT certificate from 5 years to 10 years. Initially, it was 5 years. So the vendors were saying that after 5 years, what do we do? So we need longer duration. So that is accepted. Promotion of self-certification scheme. See, under MTCT, we have a GCS, General Certification Scheme, and Self-Certification Scheme. So there are many products under GCS have been now converted into as many as 37 products. Then earlier there used to be administrative fee as well as the testing fee. Now testing fee has been waived, only administrative fee is charged for this process, PCT. Wider acceptance test reports. So what initially only recognized TEC recognized labs only used to happen. Now we started looking into the other labs under the IIT, IIS, CDOT, CDAC, BIS, etc. Whosoever is having facility in order to give wider and reach to the vendors started accepting. So we recognize that, and even these reports are being accepted. There may not be duplication of testing if they've already done some of these things in their lab. So acceptance of test report from NABL accredited lab, government organization, PSU, even BSL, RDSO, that is railways, MTNL, IT, etc. This is nothing but giving more reach to the vendors. So this is a step which will help the startups and vendors. Then there's a voluntary certification scheme. The evaluation for the startups, no, the exemption, there is an total exemption in terms of fee for MSME registered under DPIT. Reduction in renewal fee. It's only administrative fees charged now. Voluntary certificate modules have been made online. See, earlier what used to happen, the vendor is located in Bengaluru, you have to approach a certain region, then vendor is in let's say in Delhi or Gurgaon or somewhere, then they have to go to Delhi. Likewise, region-wise, they have to go physically submit and impact all those things. Now, the system has been made online that they need not visit office except for some kind of clarification, etc. Otherwise, things are made easy. Then waiver of fee for TC standard. In earlier, we used to print the documents and sell it. Those who want to purchase, used to sell it. I mean, they can pay and collect. And after some time, soft copy available, but you have to pay and download. Now, the standards are made available in the free of download. Anybody can visit a website and download the standards. And then the reduction in CAB designation application fee by 50% for startups and MSME. No fee for the government labs to apply for the CAB designation. Reduction in renewal fee by 50%. Portal developed for making process online, even for the designation process. Then there is a portal, SAP, Standard Coordination Portal for national working groups. Here, any contributors want to contribute, take one work item and start working and add value in terms of developing standards or formulation process. So one can register in the portal and then identify the which group you want to work and express your interest. Then you will be added and you will be given as per your choice work item. You can work and add value. So this is made very simple now. Earlier, this portal was not there. Now with this, people who want to add value become part of the process. It's made easy. And as I told earlier, PPP, my local content complaint registration process is also made online. And some of the major activities here is that test guidelines and is a new item actually. Test guide for quantum key distribution. It is I think only 1 year back somebody has approached and product is ready. Then we looked at it and standards have been finalized and it is issued. Then quantum safe classical system also. Similarly, standards are finalized for the non-geostationary satellite and E-band, V-band, fixed radio systems, embedded SIMs, small size G node B, standard for fairness in assessment and rating in AI. And Government of India has taken initiative to give the synchronization of standard IST to national plan for all licensed providers, because all TSPs and ISPs have to follow this. And right now, this is a different arrangement. Now, this finalized and the TC will do that. Design and standard for a common duct and post infrastructure along with the highway public pathway, because this part of the infrastructure, if you don't have standardizations, then even infrastructure development agents also will find it difficult. That's why this has been done. And this has already been covered yesterday also. ITU 6G framework, India successfully contributed for incorporation of 6G vision, ubiquitous connectivity as usage scenario, coverage, sustainability, interoperability as a capabilities. This is a very big step. So study on planning a deployment of 5G technology base stations and EMF exposure with IIT Madras. Report also released on rollout of small cell for 5G network by leveraging the street furnitures, which is very, very important because many states were not willing and they, even TSPs are not know which standard to be followed, and there was some kind of ambiguity was there. Life is made easy to them. Then technical reports on television broadcasting to mobile handset, that is D2M. Then MOU signed between TEC and IIT Delhi, IIIT Delhi for responsible AI system and Amrita University. Based on working group recommendations for interoperability requirements between OLT, ONT deployed in multi-vendor environment, ER of family has also been finalized. Test guide for conditional access, that is CASIAS, and SMS module for broadcasting system as try mandate is also finalized. And test guide for basically it looks like that a scorecard for you, but then you will understand what are all the different products, range of products or services or the initiatives through this process. So GR and test guide finalized for metal free double HDP underground optical fiber only to this type of organizations. And 7 proposals submitted by academia and industry to METI with TEC as a knowledge partner for developing framework as a responsible AI. 4 ITU standards published in 2023-24, fully contribution submitted by our CAP division, CNB division in TEC. Now let's look at the ongoing activities. MTC portal, as I said earlier, it was a manual process. Now it is made online. In addition to that, DOT has got another unit, NCCS in Bengaluru, located in Bengaluru. So they are developing ITSAR, TSCR, Indian Telecom Standard Assurance Requirement, which is not yet made mandatory as of now, but standards have been released. ITSAR have been released. Going forward, the day Government of India notifies, DOT notifies, then one should undertake this type of tests also. So therefore, this is also integrated with the MTCT module. So then based on the analysis of 44 notified products, phase 3 and phase 4, 10 products were only given extension by 4 months. That's about up to August 2024. And just for the for those new vendors and the startups, MTCT is being implemented in different phases. Currently, it is phase 3, phase 4. From time to time, it's being reviewed when it's necessary. If the infrastructure is not, ecosystem is not ready, sometime additional time is given to them. But when it's ready, the date is cut off is given, and one they have to follow. Meaning that if you don't have a MTCT certificate, your product cannot be included in any of the network for the service provision by TSP, ISP, or anybody. Then rollout of 6 products and phase 5 is been notified. Extension of security requirement, Wi-Fi, IP, and IP routers by humans. I highlight only one or two which are important. The recently in a Bangalore, the provisional designation of lab emerging technologies, that is one in for hypervisor in CN lab in Bangalore and AEMP Gurgaon. Then MOU signed between IIT Madras and IIT Pravartek for using their lab or infrastructure for conformity assessment body. Standards for anti-drone systems have been finalized. For one run product is ready. Standard for mobile satellite system MSS it's ready. And standard for assessing and rating robustness of artificial intelligence system telecom network, it's just in process. This is just timelines to give. I mean, basically where we stand we have given. It is to hire, feel that TC is ready in any area in terms of formulation of standards and developing ecosystem for providing labs and any other required to facilitate vendors and startups, companies to get the certification process and get the certificate and certification. Then this I think important. The government of India has encouraged under Make India push identified about 4 companies: Lekha Wireless, Astrom, then Resonance, and Signaltron. 4 companies have been identified to develop the 4G technology. They have developed, and they didn't. Initially, they were not aware of this TC process, and then they came to know that it's to be done. All these companies are located in Bangalore only. Now, 2 companies already got the TC certificate, and one more is in the process of getting, and one more company is crossed off a mark in terms of offering test. This is very important milestone in terms of we are now talking 5G, why 4G. 5G, 4G is from the government of India level. It is felt that we have to have a own technology in terms of 4G so that we can export, if not for India, for other countries it's required. With that background, encouraged and starting with 4G, now 5G, 6G already we are in advance. Taken advanced measures to take it forward. Then technology approval certification for CDOTs. There are so many products have been listed here. This is TC created framework for development of National Trust NTC, National Trust Center. One meeting has been already held, and second meeting is being held in this month, 15th in Bengaluru Jayanagara DOT office. So if some of you are not aware, please take a note and register and attend either offline or online. A lot of inputs are being taken from you people also, vendors also, to finalize the final framework. And TEC adopted 1 M2M release 2 in 2020 and 1 M2M release 3 in 2022 as a national standards. Initial dialogue with GCF for strengthening further. So there are the various stages. I mean, different initiatives have been undertaken and also in progress. So basically what I wanted to highlight here is there is a developer. I mean, somebody is doing R&D like FreeDot and maybe Nokia. Nokia, in case of Nokia development as well as production board. So they big house, big telecom companies aware the entire process of where whom to approach, what to do, and where to go for what is the next step, certification process. Now going forward with G is taking a shape and open is coming into the picture. So many new opportunities for new vendors, startups are there. You may be ready with patents, ready with the technology. Once it is ready, then how to put into use. Before putting into use, somebody will approach you for do you have this certificate? Then at least you should be aware that there is an organization called TEC who will facilitate, who is responsible to think place and developing ecosystem, test ecosystem approach, and we will certainly facilitate and help you to take it forward in your journey to get the certification. I mean, to help you to do the testing as well as issue certificate, which will help you carry forward your business. That's the small introduction of TEC in a given time I am able to give. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll now see a very brief overview of the technical activities at Bureau of Indian Standards from Ms. Bindu Srivastava from TSDSI Secretary, who will be delivering this presentation on behalf of Ms. Reena Garg, Head Electronics and IT Division Council. Over to you, ma'am.
We've just heard about the activities at TSDSI. Both Prakash and Nirant gave an overview of the global standards, activities of technology landscape and the work being done at TSDSI. And then we heard from TEC about the work being done at TEC as the SSO piece. Bureau of Indian Standards is one other SSO which all of us, I think, are very well aware of in India as the standards setting organization. We use BIS approved equipment. Most of us will be using those equipments. BIS is very active in the ICT space also, and that is what the focus of this presentation is. Standards, BIS is comprised of 16 division councils, which have some sectional committees under which the work gets carried out. It's published around 22,000 plus standards. The technical divisions, these are the technical divisions. Green one, electronics and information technology is the one that has a commonality with TSDSI and TEC, which is what we will be focusing on. So, Electronics and IT Division Council has 35 sectional committees, about 8 working groups, some subcommittees and panels. The sectional committees on which the work gets carried out are these listed here, but the some key ones have been highlighted in green. The LAPD 13, interconnection and information exchange among IT equipment and systems. Then we have software and systems engineering, data management systems, identification of data capture techniques, card and security devices, information system security, privacy, and e-learning. Here are some other committees which have a commonality with TSDS and TEC. These are some panels which have recently been formed, which are working on development of standards on quantum computing, metaverse, trustworthiness, digital engineering. You would notice there's a lot of overlap of activities happening at BIS, TSDS, and TEC. BIS also is a mapping, just like TSDSI maps to ITU, very closely works with ITU, both TSDSI and TEC. BIS maps works very closely with ISO IEC. There are some mirror working groups at BIS which take care of the activities at ISO IEC from an India standpoint. So these are some information about BIS participation in various technical groups of the ISO IEC. We are a BIS, India through BIS is a participating member in 53 committees of ISO IEC, which means we have voting rights in these committees. We are observers in 17 other committees. And by the way, if any expert, in fact, lots of experts who are already members in the various BIS panels and committees, and some of you might already, some of your colleagues from your companies might be traveling the BIS meetings and ISO IEC meetings. But if there's any member here who wants, any colleague here who wants to attend or participate, contribute in BIS activities, you can reach out to BIS through us. So major aspects covered in the BIS activities. Here is a list of topics that BIS is covering under the electronics segment. You would notice environmental condition and testing, EMI, EMC, energy efficiency, hardware interface, accessibility. And I think Grant was talking about exoskeleton and network or networks. A lot of work is in BIS in this space. So these are the ITC, ICT, some of the topics. Again, security, privacy, interoperability, asset management, data management figures in a big way. Some of the work that is being done in the emerging technology areas is listed here. There is a LITD committee, number 30, on artificial intelligence, which is just being created. There is a map of where BIS stands with respect to the various activities. Because this slide deck will be uploaded to the event website, we need not delve into it in detail here. So some of the potential proposals that have been submitted in AI are listed here. Reliability of AI systems, guidance for generative AI applications. Then the LITD 17, Information System Security and Privacy, which would be of interest to some of you here. The committee looks at standardization in security and privacy aspects from information systems. So here are some documents which on which BIS works. Basically, the ISO IEC standards that have been developed, BIS provides inputs, feedback, and makes contributions to those standards from the India standpoint. So these are listed here. Then Internet of Things and Digital Twin, some work carried out. The ISO IEC working groups are listed on the website, and the BIS carries out work in a mirrored fashion and gives inputs to these work groups. Then we have some standards related to IoT which have been published, in which BIS plays a key role. So you would notice a lot of these standards have some commonality with the work being done at TSDS or the standards being published at TSDS or ITU. There's interestingly there's a work activity being led by India on underwater network management systems in working. And we have the Cloud Computing, IT and Data Centers Sectional Committee, which is developing standards on cloud computing and distributed platforms, the foundational concepts and technologies. So again, this is an area which would be of interest to some of you. Here are some cloud computing standards already published by ISO IEC, into which TEC BIS has given inputs. Then we have this manufacturing sectional committee. The name is self-evident. Then some of the standards which have been published. Then there is a quantum computing panel which is currently developing specifications on quantum information technology. Then there's a metaverse panel. This is a newly formed panel, recently formed. They're starting to work on metaverse. And then we have the wearable electronics, the exoskeleton piece. So a lot of work is happening in BIS. Apart from the LITD Divisional Council, there is another council at BIS which looks after health pieces. So there is some kind of interworking happening between these two divisional councils. Then there's the standardization landscape. This is a very fast emerging market. Then on e-textiles, smart clothes, some work is already started to happen in BIS. On devices and systems, including mobile wearable device data security, which is being led through Delhi University. Then electromagnetic compatibility, here's a list. Then the relevant EMI, EMC standards, which map to the, which basically mapped to the ISO IC standards. There's some work happening on fiber optics, fiber cables and devices. So this was just a very, very brief glimpse into the activities being carried out at BIS. You notice there is a lot of common ground between TSDSI, TEC and BIS. TSDSI and BIS work in a collaborative fashion. Many of TSDSI members and secretariat members are, a part of the BIS committees. Apart from this, BIS is also on a governing council for providing inputs. And if anybody is interested in engaging with BIS, please do reach out to Secretariat. Thank you.
Ma'am, I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Madan, to kindly present mementos to the speakers as a token of our appreciation.